The Jeep behind me is a pretty popular Jeep, and unfortunately sometimes the radiator goes out. That's exactly what happened on this Jeep. Yup. The radiator on this Jeep is leaking somewhere from the bottom, and in this box I have a brand new radiator. So what we're going to be doing today is replacing the broken radiator with the new one that's in this box. And to start, we're going to undo some of these bolts. I believe it's a T30 for these two, and then these will probably be like 6, maybe 7 millimeters. I'll let you guys know. But here is the first one that we will be undoing, and then the second one is right here. I'm gonna put this on the side for now, or on hold. These are, I believe, 10 millimeters, and there's one here, coming to the left side, one here, and this will most likely be a T30. There's one here, and you see how this slides? But now the hood latch is in the way. We need to undo it. There's 2 bolts. I had my flashlight somewhere. Okay, so there's one. And then here's the other one. Mark it with like a screwdriver or something so that you won't have to play around with it once you put it back. So these two are 13 millimeters. So I'm working on this side first, and then I'll do this side. All right, so this is what it looks like taken off. Just a piece like this. I'm gonna most likely put it on the side. This is the Overland. So I think the grill is a little bit different. There are 2 screws right here. Actually, I see 3. 1, 2, and 3. And I believe this will be the same size as up top, which was 7 millimeters. So I'm gonna get those undone so I could remove the grill for better access and just put it on the side. The grill was taken off, put it on the side. Next piece is wiggle this part out. You could take the headlights out. I'm gonna try to not take the headlights out. So push these back for the hood supports, because this is where this bracket sits on in. It's hard to do this one-handed, so I'll get back to you guys. Okay, so this piece is fairly easy to take out. Just wiggle it out and you more or less get the radiator exposed. I'm just gonna let this hang down. Next, we could undo this guy, and then I am going to get underneath and drain the coolant. The radiator drain is actually underneath right here. If you guys see this little tube, this is where it should come out of. Open the little vent and it should come down, come out. It didn't on my Jeep for whatever reason, so I ended up taking off the lower radiator hose, and you see where it's coming out from now. So I'm gonna wait until the coolant drains, and then we will proceed. While the coolant is draining, we will remove 3 10 millimeter bolts. There's 1, 2, and 3 right here, which will essentially free up this piece right here, so that we would be able to take out the radiator and the fan in one go. Next step behind the radiator is an electrical connection. You see that red pin clip? You'll have to pull that out and then separate the 2 connections. Next step will be to take off this hose. Either you'll need some clamps. This is what I'm using. Or you might have the ones that are tightened with a screwdriver. Essentially push them together like this. Slide it back nice and gently. Probably need 2 hands. This is what that looks like, and then just gently pull it back. You may need to remove this part too, so that it would be a little bit easier. I'm gonna try to remove it with just taking off this clamp. This one was a piece of cake. Just used 2 hands and gently pushed it back. It came off fairly easy. I think the coolant is pretty much done draining, so I'm gonna move that stuff out of the way and get underneath to undo a few more pieces. Okay, this part is a little bit tricky. We're going underneath the car. We're getting underneath and then essentially turn up. We will have to take off, I believe, the right one and the left one. This is the transmission hose. I took off both clamps, but I'm gonna put this one back on and then take off the clamp right here and fold it up so the transmission fluid doesn't leak. And the other one we'll have to do is this one. And I'll also fold that one up. So I ended up actually taking off the hose on this side instead of folding it up. Just a little bit came out because couldn't get it off on this end. I mean, it was on there super tight. And now I'm gonna take off this one right next to it. There they are. There's one, there's two, they're dripping in here. That's the transmission fluid. Next one, if you look directly up behind this, I don't know, sway arm, control arm, the fan motor or fan clutch is located right here. So another one with this little clip bracket that will need to go off, and then this one you'll need a wrench to take off. The middle one, from what I can see, is connected. It goes all the way up and it's connected somewhere up top, so we won't need to undo this one, but we still might. But I'm going to try to get it off and out without undoing the middle one. All right guys, slightly awkward transition video. Today's a new day. Put on a new suit. I had a buyer come out and take a look at our car yesterday, so kind of threw everything off. The coolant still dripping a little bit. I'm gonna clean it up a little bit and we will resume. And we're back underneath the car. We're looking at the fan clutch, I think it's called. And this is the nut I'm working on. I'm using a 21 millimeter wrench, and it's a tiny bit bigger, so possibly a 20 millimeter would be a better fit, but it's working. All right guys, we will have to undo all three of these. So I believe, if I remember correctly, this was a 18 millimeter, the middle one. And you just have to break it loose, and then I was able to untighten it by hand and then just gently pull down and it'll pop off. And in order to disconnect it from the fan, it's connected by a clip, I believe somewhere right there, and we should be good to take the radiator and fan out. Okay, next step is fairly easy. There are two 10 millimeter screws right there where my finger is, one here and one on this side right down here, and then the radiator should come up. This is what it looks like. I took out the right side, well, right for me, so it's a fairly long one, 10 millimeter. Here is the radiator. Finally took it out. Okay guys, honestly, it's a pretty messy job and it's a pain in the rear. So you have to undo three of these, and it's basically underneath the car between the engine and the radiator. You have to undo two of these hoses. You have to undo 1, 2, 3 of these brackets that hold the metal hoses that essentially run up from here all the way up, and then they go around and get connected on the other side. And now, in order to take off the fan, I believe this is going to be a 10 millimeter. Yes, 10 millimeter screws, bolts. There's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then these metal lines. I believe those were the transmission lines, and I will let you guys know what size they are. To undo these two metal hoses, you'll need a 7/8. And once you get those hoses off, just like that, it will come off, but I'm gonna use 2 hands. Here's the new radiator. Mine didn't come with these metal bracket clips, so I'll be taking them off. Again, you'll probably need a flathead screwdriver to kind of pry them open. After you replace all the metal brackets or clips, you can put the fan back onto the new radiator and put in the 10mm screws in 4 spots right here. Put the radiator back in, put in the 10mm screws in here on one side, and then on this side. It took us a little while to play with it, with all the hoses, this AC radiator in front, and everything else, little wiring harnesses. So it took about 5-10 minutes of wiggling in and out to get it in. This hasn't been strapped down, but more or less just work backwards, remembering what you did to take everything off and put it back together. This is what it should look like once you are done. These two, and then this third rubber one that's held by this little clip bracket, and then this big one, lower radiator hose, and then these 2 transmission lines or brake lines, I'm not sure what they are. So in total you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 metal ones right here. From the top, you don't want to miss this electrical connection right here, right by the cap, radiator cap. Connect these metal hoses right here by those brackets. This hose right here, reminder, this one that we took off, and I think essentially the only pieces we have left is this bracket that goes through and a whole bunch of those screws, and then the hood latch, of course. To finish up, don't forget grill bolts. There's a handful of them up here all around. Don't forget the hood latch. Pretty much just go through everything you took off, put it back on. And hopefully this was helpful to some of you. The videos I saw on YouTube were kind of, either old or not very thorough, so I'm hoping that even if this video is a little bit longer, it was fairly thorough so that you guys could follow step-by-step instructions. It is a lot messier than I expected, and it took a lot longer than I expected, but hopefully the new radiator doesn't leak, and hopefully this solved my issue on my Jeep. I appreciate you guys watching. Subscribe, stick around for more videos, find other videos that I have on the channel, and thank you once again. I'll see you guys in the next video.